The asteroid mining station Kepler-7 had been Raza's sanctuary for 3 years. Hidden among the jagged rocks and industrial machinery, the exiled human soldier had carved out a quiet existence, maintaining old equipment and avoiding the questions that came with human contact. His military past was a shadow he'd rather forget. Court-martialed for refusing orders that would have killed innocent civilians, branded a traitor by the very people he'd sworn to protect. The station's corridors echoed with the hum of recycling, systems and the distant clatter of mining drones. Raza had grown comfortable with the solitude, finding peace in the predictable rhythm of maintenance work. That peace shattered the day 5 figures appeared at his workshop door. They were Zephyrian refugees, tall, graceful beings with crystalline skin that caught the station's artificial light like scattered diamonds. Their leader, a woman named Liana, stepped forward with the desperate poise of someone carrying impossible weight. "You are the human called Raza," she said, her voice carrying the musical quality typical of her species. "We have traveled far to find you." Raza set down his plasma torch, studying the group with the wariness of someone who'd learned that visitors rarely brought good news. Depends who's asking and why they care. Liana's luminescent eyes dimmed with exhaustion. "My world is dying. The hegemony has blockaded Zephyr Prime, cutting off all supply lines. Our children starve while their warships circle like vultures." She paused, her crystalline features hardening with resolve. "We've heard stories about a human soldier who once stood against impossible odds, who chose conscience over command. Stories have a way of growing in the telling," Raza replied, but something in Liana's voice stirred memories he'd tried to bury. "Besides, I'm not in the hero business anymore." One of the other Zephyrians, younger with deep blue crystal formations along her temples, stepped forward. "The hegemony has 40 dreadnoughts blockading our system. Our defense fleet was destroyed in the first engagement, but their formation has a weakness, a gap in their sensor net that exists for exactly 17 minutes during their patrol rotation." Raza found himself listening despite his better judgment. The tactical part of his mind, dormant for years, began analyzing the information automatically. 17 minutes isn't enough time for a supply run, even with the fastest ships. "Not for supplies," Liana said quietly, "but enough time for one small craft to slip through and deliver something else. Something that could change everything." She produced a crystalline data core, no larger than Raza's thumb. "This contains the location of every hegemony supply, depot, fuel cache, and command post within 50 light-years. Information that could cripple their expansion in this sector." "How did you—" Raza began, then caught himself. Some questions were better left unasked. "The resistance on Zephyr Prime died getting this information," Liana continued. "But they succeeded. Now we need someone who can get it to the Allied fleet staging area at Centauri Station." Raza turned back to his workbench, hands mechanically organizing tools that didn't need organizing. "Find someone else. I'm done fighting other people's wars." "This isn't someone else's war," said the blue-crystalled Zephyrian. "The hegemony won't stop with our world. They're testing their new blockade tactics on us. If they succeed, they'll use the same strategy against human colonies. Your people will face the same starvation we do now." The words hit harder than Raza cared to admit. He'd seen the hegemony's expansion patterns, their systematic approach to conquest. They always started with isolated worlds, perfecting their methods before moving to more significant targets. Liana moved closer, her voice dropping to barely above a whisper. "I know what happened on Kepler-4. I know why they court-martialed you." Raza's hand stilled. "Then you know why I can't help you. I know you refused to bombard a civilian shelter. I know you saved 3,000 lives and lost your career for it." Liana's crystalline skin pulsed with soft light, a sign of deep emotion among her people. "That's exactly why we need you." For a long moment, the workshop filled with nothing but the distant hum of station machinery. Finally, Raza looked up, meeting Liana's luminescent gaze. "The gap in their sensor net. You're certain about the timing? We've monitored their patrols for 2 months, 17 minutes every 8 hours. Raza nodded slowly, his mind already working through flight vectors and acceleration curves. I'll need a fast ship, something with military-grade stealth systems and enough fuel for a one-way trip. We have a modified interceptor, one of the other Zephyrians offered, stripped down for maximum speed. Good. Raza reached for his old military jacket, hanging forgotten in a storage locker. The fabric felt foreign after 3 years, but the weight of it on his shoulders brought back muscle memory and half-forgotten purpose. Because if we're doing this, we're doing it right. 3 days later, Raza sat in the pilot's seat of the Zephyrian interceptor, watching the hegemony blockade through his ship's sensors. 40 massive vessels arranged in a perfect grid, their weapon systems trained on the planet below. For 17 minutes, a gap would open in their formation, just long enough for a desperate gamble to pay off. As the patrol rotation began, Raza fired the engines and dove toward the gap in their defenses. Behind him on the asteroid station, Liana and her companions watched the sensor display, hoping that sometimes an exiled soldier's quiet defiance could still light a spark of hope in the darkness. The data core pulsed softly in the ship's console, carrying the weight of worlds yet to be saved.